same-sex marriage. Now you're for it. You defended President Obama's immigration policies. Now you say they're too harsh. You supported his trade deal dozens of times. You even called it the gold standard. Now suddenly last week you're against it. Will you say anything to get elected?
Well, actually, I have been very consistent over the course of my entire life. I have always fought for the same values and principles.
And there are some imperfections, some due to circumstances that we want to clean up, and others for, just to tighten things up and define the mission. But today I want to talk specifically about a brief that I filed, a motion that I filed. I filed on August 23rd, 2017. I filed a motion for declaratory relief, challenging the constitutionality of licensing the occupation of law. That has been my design and my goal for at least 4 years, and way before that, as you start to think of the nature of these things.
Okay, well, I've been talking about this for a long time, and just as a concerned citizen, I'm not a lawyer or anything like that. Although I did take business law in college, in university. They have got things set up so that we can't get justice. I mean, you have to pay. Like, if you want to file a state lawsuit in a state court, I think the fees are $2,000. Okay, so, I mean, that's just one part of it. I mean, not to mention they just they set everything up so that it's like a foreign language, to people. Justice is like a foreign language. I mean, everything is set up so that they can have their day in court if they want, but you can't have yours. And the idea that somebody can't represent themselves, like a guy with himself as a client is a fool or whatever, I forget, a fool for a lawyer, I forget the saying, but anyway, that's not, I mean, it's true only because the way they've got the courts set up. I mean, they've got it, and it's true because they put people in who are opposed to the people and the people pursuing their own justice. I mean, that's obvious, right? It wouldn't have mattered who tried to get a cop who shot an innocent person tried and sentenced, even though, because obviously there's lawyers who know how to work within the system, which, like I say, is set up just to confuse normal people and to hide the fact that you never had a chance from the beginning. So I've been, and in fact, law is a very simple thing. We all know what law is. Everybody who gets on here and says, well, that doesn't seem right, that's what law is. Law is like just common sense. Law is just simple principles, good versus evil, but not in a religious sense. People kind of think of, well, religion tries to, and that's a whole nother subject we'll get into one of these days, but religious tries to own ethics and morals and stuff like that, and they don't. In fact, it's just religion came about just because people worrying about getting justice, and it's become more and more obvious that sure, we've got people who do bad things, but the injustice in the world that we really should be concerned about is this systematic injustice that rises up, because we can punish somebody for murdering somebody, but it's really hard to punish the state for murdering somebody. I mean, they do it all day long over in Afghanistan and Iraq, and the Saudis, according to everything I'm seeing lately, most of us already knew about Saudi and 9/11, but and it was people within the state who supposedly funded and well, I don't know how much training there was, but there was certainly funding and management. So, the whole system's just ridiculous, and you get guys like this. He may be a little nuts, I don't know. He's certainly not nuts enough to drag off to you'll see what happened to this guy, but let's see what this is. The kind of stuff right here that they got him in trouble. What he's been doing is filing lawsuits, and while they may be easily portrayed as crazy, he's certainly not crazy. I mean, that much I can see.
Woe unto you, lawyers, for ye have taken away the key of knowledge. Ye enter not in yourselves.
And he, so he's kind of a very religious guy, which is fine, and he's obviously framing a lot of his stuff within his religion, and I don't have a problem with that. He can do that. It doesn't make him crazy.
And them that were entering in, ye hinder. That was the first line in that brief, and that's from Luke chapter 11, verse 52. Then it went on.
And it's considering how the system uses religion so much, the Bushes and the Clintons and Clintoons, the Shrubs and the Clintoons, how they wear religion on their sleeve, to have somebody come at them from a religious point of view, or at least speaking their lingo, right? Speaking their language, is I think, a great tactic, because then that takes away that card from their hand, right? So we've got a guy, he's very religious, he's got American flags all around him, and he's speaking our language, right? He's doing our work. He's going after the real evil, the systematic evil. I think it's great. How much his religiosity will be a burden upon us, I don't know, because obviously most of us are atheists or agnostics. I personally believe in God, but it's not the Christian God by any means. And you can find out what I believe in over on my Philosopher's Stoned group anytime you want. I'm a philosopher and a theorist. Not a theist, but a theorist. Like I have all these theories about reality, physics, those kind of things, and I published them over on the Philosopher's Stone. I don't know if I can get it to, so this is a group where I have all that kind of crap. And if you look in files, so this is a Facebook group. If you're just concerned about where I come from, where I'm coming from, you can come over here to files, and you know, there's just, I don't have everything up there yet. So far I have a lot of astrophysics, more on Hubble Webb, the Big Bang. So I talk about the Big Bang because I don't believe in the Big Bang. I mean, I believe there might be Big Bangs, but they're not like the be-all, end-all of the universe. Martin's Law, the only force in the universe is push. I believe that there is no such thing as pull, like when they talk about the moon going around the earth. I don't believe that's caused technically by a force that you would call pull. I believe it's being pushed from the other side. There is no such thing as solid or a vacuum. Now that goes into the more important thing of what I believe God is, which is that God is everything. God is the whole universe. I don't believe it's a being, but I believe there's karma built into the universe. I don't know if I go into that, but I do start out with the basic ideas of what I think the universe is, its nature is, and the ramifications of infinity. So if you want to get into what I'm into, and this certainly won't cover it all, but you can go there. And I just, I know I get off subject from time to time about myself, and that's because when I'm doing these stories, I think you should know who you're listening to, right? So that's something there.
And I cited an extensive excerpt from Matthew chapter 21, verses 1 to 6 and 13 to 33, just excerpted some out. And that defines the issue in this brief that I filed. Because what happened after Matthew 11:52 goes on to Luke 11:53. And as he said these things to them, the scribes and the Pharisees began to assail him vehemently and to cross-examine him about many things, lying in wait for him and seeking to catch him in something he might say that they might accuse him. That's pretty powerful. The key to knowledge. Let me see in how Matthew said it. But woe unto you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites! For ye shut up the kingdom of heaven against men. For ye neither go in yourselves, neither suffer ye them that are coming in. The key to knowledge had been employed in Jesus' day, or hidden in Jesus' day, to shut up the kingdom of heaven. And when Jesus called those scribes and Pharisees and Sadducees out on what they were doing, hypocrites. You can read those verses, folks. Jesus, for lack of a better term, went off. He went off on the lawyers, the scribes, the Pharisees, the priestly class, that we still, in many respects,
And this guy's a lawyer, so he's criticizing his fellow lawyers, and he has as far as I can tell, had a pretty good career. And it seems to me like if he's crazy in any way, it's because he was made crazy. Because, I mean, imagine how insane it must make people who go into law for justice, right? And find out that it's really an injustice system. It's really a system to be unjust, designed to be unjust to the people, and promote just a few people, the rich people, not all the rich people. I don't want to get into that again, but basically the rich, and even the rich who are not just out and out evil, they're guilty by association, right? And that makes me, and because I'm from a rich family, and of course anybody else, guilty by association. But please don't punish us for what these, I mean, there's really, really bad rich people, okay? And I'm not really rich. I mean, I don't, I benefit certainly a little tiny bit from my family, but most of the anyway, we're not going to get into my personal life. I don't mind sharing my philosophy and stuff with you, but my personal stuff is mine. So so a person like this would go a little crazy, because they're face to face with evil every day in this system.
carried forward today in our country, behind our benches in our courts. That's quite a story. And you know, I have a Bible. Frankly, this is more of a prop. When I don't Bible anymore, I Google. And it's a great way to get around and catch up pretty quick on some of this stuff. But I started reading this stuff that Jesus is saying about lawyers. When I started to study theology, you think about it. Holy cow. Holy cow. That is some powerful, powerful, powerful stuff.
I think it's funny that he's using that word, holy cow. I mean, that's what the Bible was all about. It was about, Abraham, supposedly the father the father of all of our philosophy in the Bible, coming down and seeing them worshiping a golden cow. How accurate all that stuff is and everything. But it's funny that in people's just ordinary everyday speech, there are little clues to things that are vast importance to us. I mean, I don't believe in like a guy with sandals and a robe and a long white beard or anything like that as God, but I most certainly believe there's plenty of ancient history buried inside the Bible and everything. I mean, I read ancient Hindu texts, and I read ancient from Assyrian, and as far back as I can go. As a matter of fact, I quite often will get on the internet and search out for the oldest text, and of course most of that stuff was not actually written. It was handed down verbally, And we all know what French telephone is. That's where you get a group of people in a circle, and you whisper something in somebody's ear, and you know what it is, and then when it gets around to the last person, they say what they heard, and it's vastly different every time. It's not what you whispered into the first person's ear, even though you whispered it quite clearly. So, yeah, a lot of this ancient knowledge, you have to be an expert at deciphering, at pulling. You have to be able to pull the real word that was spoken by the first person on the French telephone thing, and be able to kind of work your way backwards. So I don't have a lot of faith, certainly in the precise wording that comes out of ancient texts. But at the same time, people have taken what they have as the wording and worked it, because I mean, really, when you get right down to it, what some guy 5,000 years ago had to say is just going to be the same kind of things that people say today, right? They see people worshiping in a church, and they see the pastor has a giant plane and the big house and limousines and the whole, and so of course you're going to get the same thing being said today as you saw, and that's just an example, but my point is that people are people and they're gonna have the same issues, except for modern versions of the same issues. So there's no great secrets where that kind of thing is concerned. Now, I want to get back to the original post on Democratic Party headquarters that brought me here. 3 girls have a show like mine, except for they have the ability to talk together and interview and stuff, I guess. And the post on my page, on my group. Okay, so I didn't actually get that post off of Democratic Party's headquarters, but all my groups are kind of part of Democratic Party headquarters. They're all, well, not all of them, but a certain group of them are, like, this is bad cops, what you gonna do? It was kind of a joke on the Simpsons song, bad cops, what you gonna do? What you gonna do when they come for you? Anyway, Tom Lene Weaver, something like that, shared Tom Lene Weaver for President 2020's post. This guy's got ambition, huh? Anyway, he says Andy Ostrowski is a friend of his, so that must be nice, having friends like that. Well, he's sitting in some mental ward now. And he says, a friend of mine became victim of the police state we are in. There are no constitutional rights anymore. We have a Congress that doesn't support and defend the Constitution, a president that doesn't preserve. If you think that we have ever had, since Carter anyway, a president that protects our rights, nah. I mean, they never dabble in interfering with the police and the. In fact, they're, as part of the establishment, they really condoned the police behavior, the murders, the suicide by cops, the abuse of, I mean, people who are seriously mentally ill. Just don't understand how a person, well, I do, because they're assholes. You know, cops who would shoot a man who's just leaning against, you know, something on the side of the road with a knife in his hand. And you'd shoot him right in the stomach. I saw that and I was like, what a fuckhead. You know? How about 2 or 3 of you get a big net and throw it over him? Or, I mean, there's about 1,000,000 things you could do to the guy besides shoot him in the stomach. And in the stomach, you know what a horrible way to die that is? A bullet in your stomach? Oh, God. You guys are fuckheads, man. You fucking cops, you're all a bunch of fucking dicks, alright? Alright, I got it out of my system. It's true, though. It's true. There aren't, I don't think there are any good ones. I think that's the big myth, you know? Oh, I know a lot of good cops. Yeah, sure you do. What about the time that he beat that old lady over the head? Oh, I never heard about that. No, you didn't, did you? You didn't take the time to pay attention, did you? So, you know, if we go to this, it says Andy... did I finish reading this? State governors, state legislators, nor state courts also do not uphold the Constitution. Otherwise, police state abductions like this wouldn't happen. We need a president that will change this, and I will. So the guy I was showing you video of earlier in this segment, they came in and just took him away. And why? Who knows? I haven't been able to find out anything that he did that was either threatening or dangerous or anything like that. The worst thing I can, well, I'll let you, let's go here to the link, and I believe these are these 3 girls. It's called activistpost.com. How to that's funny. Like it's a book, How to Disappear an Activist. It's like police brutality for dummies. Okay, an activist, where is Andy Ostrowski? So this they've chopped it down, so that's good. This is just
okay, folks.
The video
here at 2:44
well, you'll
p.m.
see.
Because I just looked out my front door and saw the Wilkes-Barre police there. So I'm going to stay right here on this video until they come and tear me out of this seat. And I have done nothing wrong to anybody, and I had no intention of getting into talking about a bunch of stuff today. Everything is out there. I wanted to talk about some overriding policy issues. I just looked out my front door. I heard something out on the front porch, and I just looked out my front door, and I saw a Wilkes-Barre police officer on the front porch with Karen. And they think I'm going to talk about some stuff that I don't have an interest in really talking about. There's a lot that's going on around my life. There's a lot that's going on right now. And I'm just going to go get up and look to see if they're still out there.
Well, they did chop this video down. I mean, he's obviously upset. I mean, who wouldn't be? The cops are outside your house.
Okay, folks, they are gone. I hope that people stay with me. Hi, TV. I hope that people stay with me here because, like I said, it's a very serious situation, and I just went on a little bit earlier than I wanted to because I was sitting here getting ready. Hey, Michael, John. Hey, John, I got the Wilkes-Barre police outside my house right now. I just posted this thing that I'm going on Facebook Live at 3 o'clock. I have committed no crimes. I violated nobody's rights here, folks. And I have police who were at my door yesterday, and now I have police out here right now. So that's why I'm going on a little bit early here to talk about some of this stuff and talk about what's going on and talk about really, what this boils down to is in many ways the state of communication in this world. I don't know why they're here. They're here because about 15 minutes ago, I announced that I was going to be going on Facebook Live at 3 o'clock. Of course they're here because of my activism. No, I didn't answer the door. I happened to hear them out there. I happened to hear somebody trying to get into the door. Amy, they want to take me. Here's what they want to do. They want to come in here and they want to shut me up because of the things that I've been talking about. And folks, I really, Wilkes-Barre Police, FBI, all you people that are watching this, and folks, just so you understand, there's probably people in federal government buildings and that are watching what I'm saying now. And I'm not going to say much. I say what I say in writing. And I want to talk about some of this whole issue of what goes on in writing, how people react to writings. And I did want to do an introduction, and as people come on to the record,
Pen is mightier than the sword.
Well, I'm going to have to keep reminding this until 3 o'clock. It's 2:47 now. I'm going to keep doing this until about 3:05 or so. I just looked out the front door. I saw a Wilkes-Barre police officer climbing, he was trying to get in my front door. I saw him climbing over the fence, and I just heard them at the back door because I'm here trying to express myself about some very, very, very serious issues, both in a personal sense and in a bigger picture sense, of what's going on in this world of ours. And, I was calm, I was fine, I was listening to music, just kind of chilling out and hanging here. And, I sent that email out saying I was going on Facebook Live at 3, and boom, they were at my front door. So people, I don't know why they're so afraid of what I have to say. Well, I guess I do, because it's true. A lot of what I say is true. It doesn't mean I want to hurt anyone. I just want justice. I just want peace. I just want love. That's all, folks. That's all. This has all been about peace. It's all been about love. It's all been about good feelings. And fundamentally, what we're getting down to here, I understand illegal entry, no warrant.
See, this guy's the kind of Christian you wish all Christians would be, right? I mean, it's amazing that most Christians are arrayed against this guy, right? They don't like his interpretation of Christianity. They don't like hearing Jesus supposedly said to love thy neighbor. They're all about being afraid of their neighbor and behaving as if they're afraid of their neighbor. Shake my head, SMH, huh?
They were about to come in here illegally and take me out of here. Somebody was coming in here, and I don't know if he had a gun pulled or what was going on. But I am staying on Facebook Live now until somebody pulls me out of this chair. And I just have no choice. I have no choice. I just looked out the window and saw him in here. Emails, and I get rejected for sending emails. I try a phone call. Oh, now he's calling. And I mean, so I want to, maybe that's the starting point for this at this point. And maybe this really is where it needs to get to, folks. And again, I'm going to keep repeating this because it's only 2:50 now. And I said I was going live at 3 o'clock, but I'm going to keep repeating this until a few minutes after 3. I just had the Wilkes-Barre Police at my front door. They illegally climbed over a fence and came around to my back door. There is nobody that has a valid warrant because Andy Ostrowski has done nothing wrong to anybody. Andy Ostrowski has not left this place. Andy Ostrowski has done nothing but hit enter on emails and things on Facebook. So let's talk about that a little bit. Let's talk about this whole state of communication in this world. And thank you, folks. There's a good number of you joining in already. And God, I can't tell you how much that really means to me. I know that right now, if you go on my page, I look a little bit different right now than I do on my page. I let my hair grow. When I started letting my hair grow, I started saying, oh, it's kind of goofy without a beard, so I'm growing a beard. Big deal. I think that people are like seeing even that is like some.
I think he's hilarious. I mean, I think that he's a wonderful person. He's got to be. He's just, if this was happening to me right now, I'd be going, those fucking asshole police, and I'd be saying, they come in here, I'm gonna shoot them, and I mean, I would get angry. I would get really angry if this was happening to me. So I think he's in incredible control. And maybe I wouldn't get all blown out. I mean, who knows until it happens to you, right? But or if it happens to you, God forbid. I mean, I'm doing a show too. I'm doing a show that's very anti-establishment, very anti-cop. I mean, I've said what I think about cops, that most of them are deranged anyway. That I think that you have to put on your resume that you're angry and you want to bust heads. That's probably what they're looking for in a cop. And probably if you express a little bit of racism, you probably get in there even faster. And most, I mean, sure, I could be wrong, but I'm not. I mean, it's obvious that's what they look for in a police officer, and that's what they train them to do. Now, in whatever roundabout way that they do it, and however, I imagine most of that training takes place simply by word of mouth, simply by cops saying, well, make sure you're ready to pull your gun and shoot the mother, and make sure you're ready to kill somebody. I'm sure all that kind of stuff gets said like between them, you know what I mean? Anyway, I would be very scared if cops were trying to break into or try to take me away. And like he's saying, for what? For what? What opinion did he say that it qualifies him as crazy and having to be hauled off? I mean, people still don't know where he is, as far as I know. I'm sure that he'll pop up, but because he hasn't done anything, he hasn't hurt anybody.
Something wrong with me because God gave me curly hair, and I want to grow it. I don't have to answer to anybody, and it's just kind of like, I mean, I'm kind of.
What is wrong with the world that hair matters? I mean, the establishment has got its like haircuts, and it doesn't like anybody who doesn't do its own. The establishment. We'll call it the establishment haircut, right? It's anything from military. They love skinheads, don't they? To military, to I don't know, Humphrey Bogart style, Tom Hanks most of the time. I mean, don't you love Tom Hanks with long hair? Remember when he had long hair? Remember when he was kind of a liberal? He used to dress up as a woman all the time in that stupid TV show he had. It wasn't always stupid. He was actually the best part of it. It was alright. Anyway, remember, now I think Tom Cruise is still basically liberal in his Scientology kind of way, but basically when he's not hyped up like he seems to get from time to time, he seems to be a pretty reasonable guy, okay? But didn't he look great with long hair? Remember him in Legend when he was Jack of the Forest, like Jack on the Green or whatever? What a great guy he seems to be. Leonardo DiCaprio. Well, now I'll say this: I don't think I've ever seen. Why can I never think of his name? Who's Jason Bourne? Anyway, you know who I'm talking about. Matt Damon. I don't think I've ever seen him with long hair. Let your hair grow, Matt. Let your hair grow. Let your hair down. I say everybody, let your hair grow. If they want to fire everybody in America because they let their hair grow, let your hair grow. Say that you will not be cowed. You will not be a yoke put on your neck. You not be told how long your hair can be, and whether you can grow a beard or whatever, you know. Fuck these people. They think that they can. You know, I've been dealing this since I was 5 years old. You know, my dad, conservative ass, military guy. Make sure he goes and gets a haircut today. I mean, my dad's whole life was about making enough money so that he could make sure his kid had a haircut. And it was an endless fight. And I used to get hit. I used to get smacked upside the head because I would argue about getting my hair cut, you know. And, you know, I love my dad, but I'm glad he's dead. I mean, I wouldn't want him back the way he was. He had lucid moments, you know. He would be like, because he knew he was just being an ass for the bigger asses who had made his life. And, you know, I'm biting the hand that feeds, right? I mean, it was a dedication to conservatism. It was a dedication to the wealthy people who, you know, they made everything happen for my family. I mean, how many people do you know are considered like awful students? Because I thought school was pretty fucked up. I thought that they were making us learn stuff that we didn't really need to learn or want to learn. I have a lot of problems with the way schools were. I mean, they were basically designed to churn out little fascists. And how many kids do you know, 16 years old, get sent to Oxford? Now, I'm not supposed to know this, right? I'm being told to go to Oxford and go to school there, to a boarding school, and that's about all that it dawned on me I was doing. But the thing was, in 9th grade and some parts of the years in between then and when I was 16 and 11th grade, 16 and then 17, I had gotten hip. I had hung out. I mean, I grew up in California, so I'd hung around hippies since I was in 1st grade. A lot of people were into hip. So I learned a lot, right? So I went to Oxford, and I wasn't really serious about it because, I mean, what the fuck do I need to know what the area under a curve is? You know, and how many times do I have to take French over again? And for what? I don't talk to any French people. And, you know, I mean, these are all things that are like trademarks of, and I was in the same program as Bill Clinton was, the International Baccalaureate. And I didn't give a shit about it. Man, I wanted to be back in California going to high school. 11th, 12th grade, my senior year. So I guess it was 17, 18. Maybe, I don't know. I can't figure those things out. So all of a sudden I realize I'm at Oxford, and I realize that my mom and dad are neocons, and that they've been doing neocon shit all their life. That we were doing neocon shit in Indonesia, and that we were doing neocon and Israeli shit in Beirut. And I'm like, I don't want to go here anymore. I don't want to. I mean, yeah, I'm going to finish off my year, drink a lot of beer and throw a lot of darts and have a lot of fun, and hopefully nail a couple of nice looking girls, which I did finally. And so I had as much fun as I could, and I enjoyed all the people there. You know, neocons get along great with each other, and we're all together having a good time. And so I leave, and I made it plain I was not coming back. Now, how this got around to Joe Oppenheim, who was my dad's CIA handler. Because when you're an intelligence asset overseas, you have lots of different agencies who are interested in you and making sure you have a good job where you're at and making sure it's good cover for you going around and taking pictures and writing reports and stuff like that. And they all get the reports, right? The military, the Army, the Navy, the Marine Corps, and all the intelligence agencies. They all have like they say they don't communicate with each other that much, but they all have a common database which they all work off of, and people like my dad contribute all they can, and when there's a situation they are asked to even do a little bit more. They might be asked to talk to certain people, certain government type people, certain factions in Lebanon, talk a lot with Shamoons and the Salems and all these people, and maybe even report on the fighting, like where it's going on. Like my dad went down there and got captured by unfortunately by the Christians, and held for a little while and then let go. I mean, Christians weren't. If it had been Palestinians or leftists or Shia, what eventually became Hezbollah, it would have been a much different story. Okay, how did I get all the way on to Beirut again? Why do I always keep on getting over on Beirut? I guess because it's still an emotional thing for me, right? So my point, what was my point? In New York, and I think I've told you this story, so I'll just make it quick. Joe Oppenheim asked me if I want to go to Harvard. And you know, any kid would be like, Harvard, holy fuck, of course I want to go to Harvard. And I'm like, no. And he says, are you sure? And I'm like, yeah, I want to go back to California. I want to go back to being a hippie kid, smoking pot and going to the beach, and, you know, kind of like, what's his name in Fast Times at Ridgemont High. I mean, that was our lives. That was all kids like me. We were all like that. That character in Fast Times at Ridgemont High was just, and his friends were just like a conglomeration of or whatever of us, how we were. We were hippies having fun, and we were not real serious about getting great grades. I mean, I got a B average, and I missed 109 classes that year. I mean, it was pretty easy to get a B average back then because I was, you know, I went to school. And they were all good schools, and they were all good teachers. Didn't do a lot of homework. That's what dragged me down. But I did attend a lot of the classes and made sure I knew what I needed to know just to pass the test. Didn't really take school seriously, except in terms of the hanging around with people. And isn't that the most important lesson you learn growing up, is how to relate to your friends and how to make friends and how to get involved with your community? So yeah, I mean, school and all this conformity and all this pressure to be a certain, and your hair and all this crap, it's all kind of the same thing, right? I mean, all this stuff I'm talking about, the reason I'm getting into it is because it's all related. It's all about them. I remember Chris Lynch, one of my best friends. Actually, he was my best friend when I was in 9th grade and 11th grade, and then he kind of ran off and did a whole bunch of bullshit. But up till then, we were like really great friends. I was always trying to nail his sister. She was hot. What can I tell you? Aaron. So Chris, one day we're sitting in the grass at Frost Amphitheater. We used to sneak in there over at Stanford University, right across the KZSU, the radio station, which I still listen to on the internet. And we're smoking pot as usual. He has a bong, and there were really cool places where you could kind of just hang out in Frost if you knew how to get over the fence or under the fence or whatever. And he says, well, that's molded. And I go, molded? You mean like moldy? And he goes, no, molded. And I go, well, what are you talking about? And he says, well, like my father, he's always trying to mold me, make me fit into a mold. And I was like, Chris, that's about the smartest thing that I've ever heard anybody say. And Chris was highly intelligent. Unfortunately, that made him very hard to get along with at times. I mean, he'd get stuff in his head, and in that way he was unintelligent. Didn't seem to be able to make his intelligence fit in with the people around him. He would cause a lot of problems, do a lot of damage. He was a vandal, Anyway, so he was right, though, about molding. They're always, and as a kid, you're like constantly being squeezed into that mold. Constantly. It's like every minute. That's why you try to get away from your parents, right? Get away from your teachers. Get away from the hall monitors. Get away from all the squareheads, as Hunter S. Thompson used to call them. So that's what this is about, right? This guy does not fit into their mold. And I'm going to have to find out where he lives and all this kind of stuff. And we're going to have to get interested in this guy, and we're going to have to get behind him and support him, unless we find out he murdered somebody or something that we don't know about. But up till now, and I don't see it. This guy was a straight cut. Wait till you see the other pictures of him. He was a lawyer.
Being dramatic about some of the things that I'm doing too, to get attention to some of these things, and yes, sir. I have a police officer here right now, and he's in my house. He didn't knock. He didn't enter. I have two police officers here with gloves and tasers, folks. I have two police officers with gloves and tasers. Wilkes-Barre Police. They have gloves on. Do you have a warrant? Yes, we have. Can I see the warrant as I sit here? Can I see it, sir? Sir, I am on Facebook Live right now, and there are 18 people. I'm not standing. I want to see the warrant. I have 3 people. We have a warrant to take me into custody for a mental health evaluation. They have a warrant to take me into custody for a mental health evaluation. Can I see the warrant? I haven't seen any other warrants. I am not. You came into my house illegally. Folks, you're seeing something play out here on Facebook Live that this is going to keep playing. This is going to keep playing out, guys. Who's signing that? No, sir. I'm not going to fight. I'm not going to fight. I'm not going to. I'm not for sure. I'm not going to fight.
Unfucking believable, huh? And they're already talking to him about fighting, and he just wants to know. He just wants to see the warrant. He wants to know who's sent these thugs, and what gives them the right to touch his computer, and who in their right mind issued a warrant against this guy. What fucking evidence did they issue a warrant against this guy? This is disgusting in action. I mean, I'm so angry right now. It just makes me furious. And this isn't the one that I think this is the one. Here's some people talking about it, right? No, this one, let me see if we go to...
Everybody understands he isn't going crazy, and that is the spin that these people are trying to put on him. This video we're going to see here is going to show him sitting doing a live stream, and then having the authorities come unannounced, no-knock raid on his home during a live stream. There's just a lot of information that has been shared about this.
Okay, we're of course not going to watch this over again, but listen to them talk a little bit because they know a lot more about it than I do.
Those cops, right then and there, they entered his home without announcing he was coming. There could have been serious damage done here.
It's important to note too that even though that video looked cut, it wasn't, you didn't miss anything. Like there's nothing that you didn't see that makes that different. That's basically the gist of it. So
yeah, all the stuff that they had put in that video to make it shorter, it is about, I think, maybe
14 minutes.
14 or 15 minutes long, yeah. But those were basically the points in the video. I feel bad that he wasn't able to get out exactly all of the stuff that he's been doing because, like I said, what he's doing is really important. He has a network called the Pennsylvania Civil Rights Law Network, where he's really bringing to light a lot of these judicial injustices. I mean, he talks about the Kids for Cash, where Lucerne County Juvenile Detention Center were making money off of children that weren't really doing anything bad. Cops were arresting kids and bringing them into this abusive atmosphere and getting lots of money for it. And this was a big court case. People went to jail for this. He speaks out about the Sandusky scandal and the Second Mile. He's really trying to shed some light with his knowledge of law. He has a doctorate in law. This is not a stupid guy, okay? This is a man who's done lots of work in his field, who knows what he's talking about, and who's been in the darkness with these guys and is trying to call them out. So, you know,
Is it legal? I mean, is it okay for police to come into your home like that without, announcing themselves? I don't think I've actually seen that except Hollywood maybe. So, and by the way, P.S., all of the links Robin, our producer, will be sharing with you as our audience so that you can keep up with everything that's being discussed here. But what do you girls think? I mean, do you think that there was a criminal act here?
what I have to say real quick that hurts me more than anything else watching this is, and it truly hurts me, and I'm like almost in tears about it, which is crazy because he had 43 YouTube subscribers and 18 people watching his live stream, and I feel like that is the hugest injustice about this, given what he was doing. And if I would have found him earlier, I would have done everything that I could to get him the exposure that he deserves. If a family member says that you're a danger to yourself or your people around you, or that there's something wrong, they can, right, Honeybee, come and take you on a medical.
Yes. So this is definitely a collaboration with the family against Andy. You do need 2 psychiatrists, some sort of official write-up from a mental health professional, along with corroboration with the family to actually, it's called a 302, I believe, which is a mandatory health evaluation. What they do is they come and they mandatorily take you away and bring you to the hospital to have a mental health evaluation for 72 hours. And then I guess he has a hearing today about this whole thing. It just strikes me as very odd.
Okay, this is a little bit old, and I'll try and find something newer, but I'll probably post it tomorrow or the next day or whatever, because this is all I have right now.
That first of all, if you do follow, and I would say go to his Facebook as soon as you can, because what I've noticed in the past, and Tracy, I know you've seen this too, when stuff like this happens, pages get shut down and information gets lost. So try to read as much as you can about what went on, especially on that post where he says the Wilkes-Barre police are here. And then there's about 180 comments. addressing
Andy's
the situation.
Facebook and attempt to friend him, and yeah, I mean, this guy really knows his Bible. I grew up in Catholic school. I know what the lion and the lamb laying down together. I mean, he really likes his Jesus, doesn't he? So, as do I. As a man, not as a myth, but as a man, I think Jesus was maybe one of the greatest men that ever lived. You know, and this guy, he's an illustration. I mean, he's stronger than that jackass, you know, that caused Waco. But, well, the FBI caused Waco, and Hillary Clinton and Bill Clinton and the establishment, they caused Waco. I mean, let's make no bones about that. Pick no bones about that. So this is his... and I was going to just show you, so like if I wanted to just show you, I'm not a Christian by any stretch of the imagination. Let's see if this is my... Yeah, this is it. So I have this group, Facebook group, called the House of Jesus, and it's just about, the description says, I call it a house because of all the bad connotations that accompany church. Members do not believe in the divinity of Jesus because they can't possibly know such a thing. They can't even know if there really was a guy named Jesus, which I think you can come to the conclusion that there probably was based on a lot of evidence that I've seen. I know it was all the rage to try and say that there's absolutely nothing in the whole world that is evidence of Jesus' existence. Well, I've found out otherwise. I mean, there are references to him in different writings and stuff. So anyway, but at the same time, it's possible that there really wasn't an actual historical Jesus. Either way, it doesn't really matter to me. What matters to me is that you know, how people think and how people believe and how they behave. And you know, the story of Jesus, whether he was real or not, is all about human behavior, being decent to each other and that kind of thing. So it says, but they do know the stories and the principles espoused, and they, oh, I haven't typed there, agree with most or all of them, especially the turning water into wine part. Okay, well, just a little joke, LOL. And yes, we have a sense of humor. Mainly this house is for people who really like what they've heard over the years about this Jesus guy, but don't want to get mired in all the dogma and faith that's risen up around the figure, obscuring the real message and the real person, if there ever was such a person. Yeah. My first post on here is, I know there's no way to prove God exists, but I don't believe God is some guy or whatever. I think God is the whole universe, everything, even me and you, which gives us a connection to each other and God, if that is true. Now, here's the really strange part about all that. I think the universe is infinite, not just no beginning and no end in terms of time, but also in terms of space and size. Yes, I believe there are infinitely smaller particles and bigger ones. Remember Animal House? So to see God, you would have to be able to observe something that is infinite, which you cannot do with the senses God gave you. LOL, ha 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 ha. So, you cannot see God or really even understand God with your senses. You have to observe God through your mind's eye, with your imagination. Try it. Try to imagine this universe, but think of it as something that is infinite. Think of it as a place where if you set out walking into space, you would never find an end to it, no matter how long or far you walked, and think of yourself as being immortal, and you can't remember your beginning. You just know you have always existed and you always will. Boy, that would be a comforting wouldn't it? Laugh out loud. Now think of it as being made up of infinitely larger, smaller particles. Like an Animal House, there are infinite worlds right in your fingernail, and you are in infinite levels of bigger and smaller worlds. Now you can imagine all that you can kind of see, so that, like, you can kind of see God. God, these fucking commercials get worse and worse. And these new ones where you have to sit through the whole fucking thing instead of just 4 seconds are disgusting, huh?
So that means that our whole solar system could be like one tiny atom in the fingernail of some other giant being. It's too much. That means that one tiny atom in my fingernail could be one little tiny universe. Could I buy some pot from you?
What a great actor, huh? Donald Sutherland, and that kid, he's only been in a couple other things. But so, I mean, obviously my ideas are not like incredibly new. I did have this idea of the infinite universe when I was 13 or 14 and wrote it down, so it's it precedes Animal House, and it was an original thought of mine. Up till the age of up till that time, I'd only read one book on philosophy, and that was in a Catholic school. So anyway, I have a religious side, but it's not, I suppose it was partially born in Christianity, since I went to Catholic schools and university all my life. So Andy's got obviously and I was talking about Waco and shit. I just think that this kind of harassment of people is what leads. I mean, I have no doubt that what's his name, David, whatever his name was in Waco, it didn't, you know, they act like it was in a vacuum. They act like he just armed himself, 50 caliber machine gun, a number of automatic weapons. I doubt seriously that's how it started. I'll bet you wherever they went, they were followed and harassed, and that they started out, I mean, they're Christians, right? I'll bet you they started out all pacific. Now, Jim Jones is another story. But, guys, I think they start out like this guy Andy, and then they get radicalized and eventually militarized, and then they end up dead, right? And it's like, oh, it's all their fault. It's their own fault. Yeah, like they're responsible for all the tyranny and oppression that gets them into activism in the first place, right? So, what is this about? This is about his dad. It says, sometimes you don't know until you are fully tested as a man in your past. Be prepared for the trials. I've talked a great deal about Don Bailey, but recent times have shown me that it was you, Ostrowski, all along that gave me everything I need to stand strong and fight the wickedness that is going on around me. That is what it is. You, Ostrowski, which is his dad obviously, performed every duty imposed upon him under God as a father without fail and for the lives of his 6 children. But what you, Ostrowski, gave me that has endlessly more power than all your wealth status and affiliations is unfailing commitment to the truth. The man never lied as far as I know, in big things or small things, and I did always observe that through my life and model it for me. It is beautiful and powerful. And it is. And I'm not saying that, nobody ever lies. I mean, obviously you have to lie when you're... But it works like this. I mean, 2 negatives make a positive. So you get somebody who's very threatening, very dangerous, and you lie to them. Maybe they're asking you something that's none of their business, like, what are you doing here, or something like that. And you give them some ration of shit just to keep them off of the path that they're on that's colliding with your path, right? And I don't think there's, I think that's a good thing. I mean, you have to fight, right? I mean, you have to defend yourself, not fight. You don't have to go out of your way to cause trouble or anything like that, but you have to defend yourself. Like, I think he would have been perfectly within his rights as a human being, which is far more important and certainly exceeds police authority, to just tell those guys to get the fuck out of his house, and if they didn't, to pull a gun on them and tell them to leave or I'd shoot you. Okay, but that would get you killed, right? I mean, if not right there, it would after they surrounded your house, and then your life would be ruined. So we all have to deal with the realities of the police state and the antagonism and the unfairness. So sometimes you might lie to just get them the fuck out of your face or something like that. But anyway, he says you never lied, and I understand that philosophy, and I certainly have spread it. I mean, I wouldn't, I mean, when I'm talking about lying, I'm talking about like you're on a mission to assassinate Hitler, and so I'm talking about under certain circumstances, because like I said, there are no good or bad acts. A lie isn't good or evil in itself. It's based on the circumstances. And now, generally speaking, if you're in a position of strength, you should never lie. I mean, I don't believe in sneaking up behind somebody or any of that kind of stuff. I think that you're better off to just meet people head on. I think sometimes you have personal life and you don't have to. So anyway, he's got his philosophy, I've got mine. And I like his. And I wish everybody was strong enough to live their life that way. So anyway, he loves his dad, he says, and he must miss his dad. His dad must be dead from the sound of this. And that's the last post that he posted on here, and it was September 17th. Well, where is the post where he went live on Facebook Live? I mean, this is on September 17th, and that was on, I think, September 22nd or something, where he went live. And did he go live on Facebook? Or did he go live on, oh, this page is not available. And I do believe that's, let's copy this link address, and let's, so this is YouTube redirect Andy Ostrowski. So where is Andy Ostrowski? On YouTube anymore? Did they remove his account? I mean, what are you, Google and YouTube? Are you that chicken shit? Are you really that chicken shit, huh? That you would remove a man's account? What don't you want us to see? Do you want us to see that he's just, like, not really, like, any kind of threat or violent? Let's see if we can get to him.
2017, and we are assembled in the sanctuary, the chapel at the Blue Mountain Ministries, which is a property here in Pittston, Luzerne County, Pennsylvania, owned by John Kistler, and he's developing it. And it's a school, it's a beautiful little facility. It's got a school next door, some buildings, and of course this little chapel. And we're not, this is a secular presentation that we're doing today. You can't. I don't want.
So this is his. So they haven't taken it down. So I'm sorry, YouTube. I give you credit where credit is due. I've just been hearing some awful things about YouTube, but I've never really actually seen it in action. So I'm going to reserve judgment on that one. I'll apologize right now for saying it, because it did look like something was missing there. I clicked on it and it went to an empty page.
I want to escape the symbols, but I also, want to just keep it focused on the justice and judicial system aspects that this is really all about. So what I have done is I've asked two people before we went on this formal record today. I've asked the 10 people here to identify themselves for the video record. They all have. They all consent to be here. We are here, and it's important for me to have them here because it's the witnessing of truth that I want to portray, that it's important for the people. This is how we administer our affairs. This is how we govern ourselves, by getting together in rooms and talking about issues and talking about solutions. And that is fundamentally...
Okay, so let's watch this, huh? Because this is apparently what all the big deal is. This is what supposedly justifies dragging this guy out of his house and taking him and having him thrown into a hospital, a mental institution. So I think it's important that we see a little bit more of this before we wrap this up for now.
What we're doing here, and I'm here today more specifically, and to talk about the lawsuit that I filed. Now, I established Justice Day, May 2nd, 2017, and I'm very proud, very, very, very proud of what I did on May 2nd, 2017. Every word I said, and even if it didn't come out, I mean, I had to go through and kind of backtrack a little because there wasn't news that it came in, but, you know, we talk about things happening for a reason and just open things up. And because that wasn't just a public demonstration to generate attention and support, you know, it was symbolic. It was symbolic. I had a lot of the symbols that I have around here now. They do mean things, you know, to me personally, but they also represent, you know, very important aspects of the fight for justice as I have witnessed it. And I have had a front row seat for a number of years, and I talk a lot about that. But at the core, I filed some litigation on May 2nd, 2017, put it in the mailbox before I appeared for Justice Day, and did that video. And in that video, there's a lot of substance that is discussed. And it's a little vague, and I didn't even want that much discussed, but I knew at a point that we were going to have to sit down to talk about this litigation. Because what I had on May 2nd, 2017, was I had a 4-page federal civil rights lawsuit, 4 pages. And done specifically and limited to that, and I had a motion, a 2-page motion that went with it. And I filed that, and I named certain entities. I named the American System of Justice, aka as through the Pennsylvania Supreme Court, the Pennsylvania Unified Judicial System, and the Federal Reserve System, and Mark Zuckerberg and Facebook. Structured it specifically that way for legal purposes, a 4-page complaint on claims as I know that they will be litigated for years down the road, you know, if we get due process, which is a fundamental test here. But I filed, you know, so what I have done is, and it's a little, I'm trying to, because what I have been saying since I filed this, I'm sending emails out to people and saying, hey, your issues are in my case. These are all, and I think that, and I knew when I was filing it that people might not quite understand exactly what I was saying, that there would be a lot of explanation. But in that 4-page case, I think reveals every problem that plagues our judiciary, and that is that those problems are these: lack of due process. That's count 1. Count 2, the Federal Reserve and big money and banks, they're a problem. That's count 2. Count 3, Facebook and Mark Zuckerberg, they're a problem. The corporate world, the corporate culture, the corporate structure, and some things about Facebook in particular, and maybe some interesting issues that we'll litigate in this case. And they better take me seriously. And I think when they read some of the filings that I've done recently, that I think that they're going to start getting an idea that it is time to, you know, start taking a closer look at what Ostrowski is doing out there. So this case was structured, this 4-page case was structured to get at all these issues as I contemplated them. And I've studied them, folks. I have spent thousands and thousands of hours and years of my life and typed millions of words about these issues. And, you know, maybe I never caught fire with a political campaign, or, you know, became a superstar courtroom lawyer. You know, things kind of get derailed. But I'm going to address this separately. I match my skills against any lawyer on planet Earth, or any group of lawyers, any of them. And I'm going to defend that statement too, as part of this. So I filed that case, and I knew when I was filing that case that you know, there was a lot in that. And, you know, I had people looking, you know, I just filed this case, people look at it, oh my gosh, body of Christ, oh my gosh, Federal Reserve, this guy's nuts, you know. And I knew that would be the reaction. Oh no, because I didn't put the body of Christ in the original complaint, because, you know, you have to know the process. And here, let me try to get to the process here. What this case is about. We'll deal with the Federal Reserve. I mean, you got 12-year-old girls making YouTube videos in 6 minutes, totally decimating the Federal Reserve System. And we can't, you know, get people to believe that. I mean, that's a huge problem in this country. So the Federal Reserve issue, to me, is a no-brainer issue. That is done. You know, all somebody needs to do is say it. And no court has ever said it. And I'm asking the court to say the Federal Reserve to end the Fed. It's unconstitutional.
It's absolutely unconstitutional, and I've been ranting and raving, and you know, I mean, I don't know where I heard it, but somewhere along the line, I went and checked it out, and in our Constitution, and not only in our Constitution, but how about some common sense? Okay, the Treasury, which is the people, and they don't charge interest rates and all this other crap. They're the only ones who have the right to coin money. Okay, that's an old phrase, but you know what I mean, to make money. And all this stuff about, yeah, I can lend out tons and tons of money based on the fact that I have, like, if I have $100 in my bank, supposedly I can lend out 1,000. That's where do they get the idea that they can really, well, they just decided they wanted to do that. So, I mean, these people, I talked about this previously, and that's that, you know, people like you and me, we don't have the apparatus to infiltrate government and buy off people and make our own rules and our own laws for us, defending us. We always were brought up to believe that that's what the government did, and that that's how it was set up, to defend the people, but we know that's bullshit now. And the Federal Reserve absolutely needs to go. And, you know, last guy who tried to do that was Kennedy, and we know what happened to him. Kennedy, if you get online and look for $5 notes that have a red stamp on them, which is unusual, right? And you won't see them, you hardly ever hear about them. That was Kennedy beginning to phase out the Federal Reserve. You know, in between that and the Pentagon and the military-industrial complex, which they're all kind of the same thing anyway, right? Is it any wonder that they, you know, who cares how they did it? Who cares if they hired hitmen or if they worked with the Cuban exiles or whoever, right? Who cares how they did it? The point is we need to all just believe that they did it and come together in support of a guy who wasn't really all that perfect. I mean, we talk about Kennedy and how wonderful he is, but he was a pretty conservative guy, and he definitely was not the kind of Democrat I would support, like right now. And I don't know if I would support any of his kids either to be president or something. But this guy gets it, and he had the nerve to drag it into a courtroom, huh? Where, because everything in these courtrooms becomes a matter of record, and you get discovery. I'm sure everybody's watched Boston Legal or LA Law or something, and they get the little rules of how the game is played, you know. So yeah, so then the next thing you know, they're breaking down his door. Okay, now I'm not going to get into everything. I mean, obviously he has a problem with Facebook. Well, let's watch a little bit more, see if we can find out what the other two, the Facebook thing and the other thing, are.
There's nothing legitimate about it, and it needs to go. And I don't know that it is any more complicated than that. But the core of the case, the core of the people who are suffering, well, actually, the Federal Reserve System and the money banking system, that's even the core of the judiciary issues, and I think that people are starting to get an understanding of that. But let's keep that apart for now. Let's talk about this claim against the judicial system, because this is one, even though everybody, you take out the Federal Reserve mode and go buy yourself a candy bar, you have standing to sue the Federal Reserve because you just had to use their fraudulent notes, and that's the basis of that. But this due process notion, the count one, the court issue, because that's what has motivated me in my career, and that's what ultimately brings us all together, is our struggle against injustice through the vehicle for his administration. You know,
I would bet that everybody who listens to my broadcast already knows about the due process issue. I mean, God, can you imagine? This guy brings a case against local, federal, or whatever government for a lack of due process, which everybody knows exists. You know, they try to pass it off as national security. And then they go in and sneak through his back door and drag him out of his house. Holy shit. I mean, do these guys have absolutely no shame whatsoever? They are not afraid of anything or anybody. Well, they need to start being afraid. Because we're not going to shoot you. We're not going to beat you up. But we're going to beat you. We're going to get millions, hundreds of millions of people against you. Huh? Now, you may not be afraid of me or a gun or a bomb or any of that kind of stuff, but we're not going to fight you that way. We're going to fight you with the masses. You are going to end, and when I say end, I mean your rule and your dictatorship and your tyranny and your thuggery is going to end under the weight of hundreds of millions of people. That's how we're going to beat you. And there ain't nothing you're going to be able to do about it. You're not going to be able to shut down the internet. You're not going to be able to shut us up. And you're not going to be able to put us out of our right to run our own country. It's our country. You don't fucking own it, man.
Her and the frustrations and suffering that goes along with that. And it's a wholesale due process violation. And I'm accusing this system of justice of denying us in wholesale of due process. I mean, there are people that go in and get results and get a good lawyer, or, you know, I mean, you get rich, go slip, fall. But it's a different ballgame when you're walking into court and you're, doing it as a pro se litigant, fighting for their home, or fighting for a mother looking for a child, or fighting for your own case, or, any of these other things that take into courts. And it's not, there's been a lot of suffering that we've all witnessed. You don't need to look far in this modern world. Part of the problem in getting to a lot of this was the cognitive dissonance on now. That's our court system. You're crazy, and you're crazy, John. You're crazy, Judy, Doreen, or whoever else. But when you get back to it, we're talking about due process issues. And that's fundamentally what this case is about. And I believe that every case, every due process, so the way it has been constructed, I might be losing some people, but I'm conscious of the editing, and I know when I need to go back and try to fill in things that we can go back and fill in with, I think. So the way...
Okay, so I'm trying to find out what's happened to this guy, right? And this is from like an hour ago, and it still doesn't tell me anything new. Let me go to the comments section. I called, this is Eva Odoro. I called the Luzerne County District Attorney's Office, 570-825-1675, and stated that I wanted to report an illegal involuntary commitment. I was asked if it was someone elderly. I said no, and I was put on hold, and then some woman picks up. I told her that I wanted to report that the Wilkes-Barre police took Andy Ostrowski to be evaluated for an involuntary commitment. I told her that under the Pennsylvania mental health involuntary commitment laws that a person must have caused serious injury to themselves or someone else, or not be able to take care of themselves, and they would die without intervention. She claimed that the law states that all they have to do is make a threat. I told her that no, the law states that if a threat is made and they carry it out, that then they could be committed. She disagreed. I asked her to look the law up because the word and is there and not or. I told her that I was legally involuntarily committed, and I'm very familiar with the law, and the word and is after the making a threat part. And people make threats all the time but don't get committed. Only if they carry it out. She stated that she just involuntarily committed someone and she's not going to look up the law. Look the law up! Exclamation point. I then asked her for her name and she said, I'm not going to tell you that. I said, oh, this is the district attorney's office and you can't give out your name? She said, no, because you were arguing with me and being combative. I told her I was just trying to inform her of the commitment laws because I was so people are getting upset here, and people are trying to help Andy out, and these people are just giving them a ration of shit, basically. And what did Andy do? I can't find that anywhere. What threat did he make? Where did he? Who did he threaten? And what was actually said and why? And all that needs to be stated. So anyway, let's see if she says anything about that. So the district attorney can't give out their name, because I was concerned about a friend that was wrongfully committed. She told me to call the state police or police and hung up on me. This could have been a DA or MHDD administrator. I am now supposed to fear the cops are going to be at my door because some ignorant woman that doesn't know how to read commitment laws falsely labeled me as argumentative and combative. Honest to God, these people are so ready to just use anything in the toolbox, right? Okay, Pennsylvania Involuntarily Commitment Law 7301. Persons who may be subject to involuntary emergency examination and treatment. A. Person subject. Whenever a person is severely mentally ill and in need, which he obviously isn't, of immediate treatment, which he obviously isn't, he may be subject to involuntary emergency examination and treatment. Wow. Treatment? Really? Subject to being given drugs? I mean, what is this, MK Ultra or something? A person is severely mentally disabled. This guy's a brainiac. He's a fucking legal genius. And they're trying to say that there's even the slightest possibility that he's not mentally ill. What are you doing, man? Are you calling religious people mentally ill? Now, I can understand that when you're talking about the people who murder doctors who work in abortion clinics and things like that, but this isn't one of them. This is one of your religious people. You guys protect them like they're God's gift to humankind when they're anti-abortion and all this other stuff. But then one of them comes along and questions what you're doing, and all of a sudden it's a huge situation. You're dragging them off, dragging this guy off. I want to know what this threat is anyway. As a result of mental illness, his capacity to exercise self-control, judgment, and discretion in the conduct of his affairs and social relations, or to care for his own personal needs, is so lessened that he poses a clear... Okay, no, that's not the case. Determination of clear and present danger. Clear and present danger to others shall be shown by establishing that within the past 30 days, the person is inflicted or attempted to inflict serious bodily harm on another, and that there is a reasonable probability that such conduct will be repealed. Is that a typo? Should it say be repeated? If, however, the person has been found incompetent, none of this applies to this guy so far. And as far as I know, he hasn't threatened anybody either. Incompetent to be tied, or has been acquitted by reason of lack of criminal responsibility. All charges arising from conduct involving infliction or attempt to inflict substantial bodily harm on another. Such 30-day limitation shall not apply so long as an application. So we need to find out, I mean, first of all, if he threatened somebody, what was the threat, and how serious really was it? I mean, anybody can lose it, right? Anybody. So, and say something that I mean, this guy's obviously a pacifist. I mean, he's a bit of a pussy, right? I mean, come on. Okay, a pussy cat. How's that? He's a mellow dude. I mean, even if he were to lose his cool and threaten somebody, I'm sure it wouldn't be a big deal. You can take away his guns if he has any, which I doubt. 2. Clear and present danger to himself shall be shown by establishing that within the past 30 days. So they, on top of everything else, they have to prove he's done something in the last 30 days. Okay, so I'm not going to get into all this because it's all kind of if then and maybe and only, a lot of stuff. Okay, so I don't think she has much more to say, but I think the important thing is there's a lot of good people out here talking about it, and I'll bet you find anything out about Andy outside of what we've I've already posted, already reported on. But it's viral. I mean, if you look at this is how many, well, in this setting it doesn't tell you how many, but these are all about him. So activist Andy Ostrowski raided by police on live stream for claimed mental health warrant, and this is live stream D. Andy Moza on YouTube. This is a place called Apocalypse Paradigm, and yeah, of course all the survivalists are going to be like, this is it, this is when it starts, we're all going to be in FEMA prison camps by 6 p.m. tonight. I mean, but it is going viral, and it is creating a stir, huh? Pennsylvania. So this is their Pennsylvania civil rights attorney and judicial reform activist Andy Ostrowski was kidnapped. That's about it. By law enforcement from his home to take him in for a mental health evaluation. Activism Archives, activist posts 7 hours ago. How to disappear an activist. Now I've seen that post. That's an old post, so it's not giving us anything new. And here it is again, how to disappear an activist in ukstar.org health, how to disappear an activist. So that post is getting a lot of play. This has definitely gone viral. I mean, if I were a little bit closer to Pennsylvania, I would drive up there, and I still may. I mean, this is important. People need to go there. Everybody that can get there, she needs to go into the police station and ask about Andy. You're his friend. You just want to know how he's doing. You heard that he got arrested, and you just want to know how he's doing, right? what is going on this post? Let's just go over here and check it out real quick. So, how to disappear an activist, or where is Andy Ostrowski? Nice picture of him before he grew the beard. I think you look good without the beard, Andy. Now, but that's up to you. I don't like to have to shave all the time. This is from the 27th, so I'll read it. As reported here, romantic profession Andy Ostrowski was taken into control by the Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania police dialect on September 19th for a forced mental health evaluation. Ostrowski was reached after that afternoon. Okay, some information at General Hospital in Wilkes-Barre, where he asserted that he is being held as a domestic prisoner. Well, I did catch that before. And I think he said he was being held as a political prisoner. Ostrowski, a radio speak show horde and police and polite rights advocate, also done a run for Congress. Man, this guy's English is awful. Per hospital protocol, Ostrowski was subsequently eliminated to another eliminated. And yeah, I heard they moved him, and now no one can find out where he is. Okay, so nothing's really changed. We can't find the poor bastard. And how sick is this, that they can just disappear him like that based on some stupid laws? I mean, this has become an issue. This has become important, right? I mean, this is a big deal now, and they disappear him like that. I mean, the poor guy should have somebody with him 24/7, keeping an eye on him, because who knows what they'll fucking do to him. HIPAA, okay, this talks about them not allowing us to know where he's at or if he's in a particular place. But, you know, at some point it becomes more important than that, don't you think? When the people want to know, and we should have access to him. We should be able to make sure he's okay. We should be able to talk to him. We should be able to do things for him and ask him if there's things that we can do, and if he needs to contact people. I've heard that his phone has been inactive, which means they probably took it away from him. I mean, how is any of this legal? Okay, let's give him a call.
You have reached the Wilkes-Barre City Police Department. If this is an emergency or you need to make a police report, hang up and dial 911. If you would like to speak to an officer and know their name, enter the star. For the records unit, press 1. For the community policing unit, press 2. For the commander of investigations, press 3. For the commander of operations, press 4. For the office of the chief of police, press 5. To speak with a live officer, press 6. Nothing. Police Department.
Yeah, my name is Martin Drummond, and I'm with Democratic Party Headquarters News, and I'm trying to find out about a guy called, let's see what his name is again, Andy Ostrowski. Apparently he was arrested by your department on the 19th. Hi, my name is Martin Drummond. I'm with Democratic Party Headquarters News, and I'm doing a story on Andy Ostrowski, who was apparently arrested on the 19th, and from what I'm seeing, nobody seems to be able to track him down or find out if he's okay.
I have no idea what you're talking about. Hold on, please.
Yeah, my name is Martin Drummond. I'm with Democratic Party Headquarters News, and I'm trying to find out the whereabouts and condition of an Andy Ostrowski who was arrested by your department on September 19th. Okay, well, this is a huge story. It's all over the place. Does anybody there know? I mean, he was arrested. I've seen the live video of him being arrested by your police. I mean, are you in Pennsylvania?
Yes.
Okay. So it's all over the internet, anyway. Do you guys not keep records of who you arrest?
Yeah, we do, but we have not arrested any Andy Ostrowski.
Well, okay, if you say so. I mean, it's live on the internet. He was on Facebook Live as the police officers came in and took him away.
Where was he arrested at?
In his home, and apparently they, from what I've seen, they just let it themselves in and took him away. That's what it says, is Wilkes-Barre. In all the posts and everything I've been able to find, it all says Wilkes-Barre. I didn't know it was pronounced that way, but like if I'm here on Health Impact News, it says Andy Ostrowski was kidnapped. Well, they say kidnapped, but anyway, by law enforcement from his home in Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania this week. WILKES-BARRE, Pennsylvania. And hello? And apparently it was on a so that they could take him and have him evaluated, a psychological evaluation.
So he wasn't arrested, he was mental evaluation. That's what you're saying. It's a totally different thing.
Well, it's really the same thing, isn't it? I mean, if your department sends guys out and takes them to the evaluation, doesn't that make you legally responsible for him?
What that is someone filled out paperwork. Would have had to have filled out paperwork. If that's the case, I have no idea. That's what happens with a mental evaluation. Somebody that knows him must have requested from community counseling that he be evaluated mentally. That's the case. He's not arrested. He's taken for mental evaluation.
Okay, and so I can just say I want somebody mentally evaluated, and the police department will just go and take them out of their house and take them to a hospital? Like if I say I want my brother evaluated?
Paperwork, like I just stated, you have to go and complete paperwork to community counseling, and they would have to either approve it or deny it. If they approve it, then drop off the commitment paperwork to the police department. That person will be picked up and transported usually via ambulance.
Okay. And does that have to be signed off on by a judge or anything?
That's signed off by community counseling, like I just said.
A community council.
By a doctor.
By a doctor. Oh. Well, it's very interesting. So you don't have any record of your guys actually, you know, going out there and getting him.
I would have to look it up, but if it's a mental evaluation, that's not something that we're going to be discussing.
Oh, okay, so you guys don't discuss that when you... I mean, I wasn't really asking for a discussion, but people are wondering where this guy is. All kinds of people. I mean, it's become a huge story. And by 6 o'clock, I have to have... That's my deadline. You know, people want to know where he is. I'm not asking you where he is, but I'm just telling you. You know, people are going to want to know. This has become a political, a political nightmare for the people who are involved in his detention. They should at least come out with the reasons and tell the public why they're holding this guy and why they're evaluating him.
We're not holding him. He's not here.
Sorry?
I said we are not holding him. He is not here.
Oh, no, I understand that. But the people who are holding him, and since you guys went and got him and took him to wherever it was, that kind of, that involves you in a physical way. So, anyway, I'm obviously not going to get the information I need out of you. Do you have the phone number of who should I call to find out more about this?
If you want, you can contact community counseling. But I'm going to tell you right now, they're not going to give you any information to hit the laws.
Oh.
You're not going to get anywhere with them.
Well, who's watching out for this guy?
I don't know. Do you have anything further?
No, thank you.
Okay.
Wow. You talk about stonewalling, huh? It's like when you've got a warranty and you're trying to get something done for your car, and they tell you to call the dealership, and the dealership tells you to call the manufacturer, and then the manufacturer tells you to call the dealership, and then the dealership tells you know that. Everybody's experienced that, right? So, wow. That's it. That's how it works, I guess, when you're trying to just find out if a guy's okay, right? You know, an activist, somebody on our side. On our side, we have no... Wow. Who knows what they're doing to him, where they have him. And everything about this is so illegal. What doctor can just say, okay, I signed this, and therefore that guy can just be dragged off? This is crazy, man. Crazy. And it's just as crazy as them as what they got upset over, the stuff that they got upset over that caused all this. And, you know, if they could just give us an answer, what this guy did, and show us the recording of what he said, or at least give us the testimony of the person who's said that he's done something wrong. You know, other than maybe he told his brother to fuck off or I'll break your nose or something like that. Whatever he did, you know, whatever he did, let's... This isn't over, man. This is just beginning. Don Bailey is supposed to be close to him, and he's an attorney, so I'm betting he's going to be involved. So I'm going to give his office a call. and see if I can find anything out.
The number you dialed is not in service.
Well, that's kind of weird. Let me try it again. I mean, it's right here. Don Bailey, Law, Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. That's the guy. 1717. Maybe I dialed wrong. 221-9500. Must have dialed wrong. Nope.
The number you dialed is not in service.
Well, could be a couple of reasons for that, huh? What does it say about him? Civil rights ex-attorney, Harrodsburg, Pennsylvania. Why ex-attorney? In the introductory sentence above, the answer is widely known and quite simple. Don Bailey's license to practice law has been suspended for 5 years. There is no utility served unless we address the reasons for what happened in some detail. That will be done as this web page is revised and updated. Since there's a great deal to do in accomplishing that task, we must visit the numerous facts and opinions explaining why Mr. Bailey's license was suspended by the egregiously corrupt Supreme Court we've had here in Pennsylvania over the last decade or so. God, Pennsylvania, home of the Liberty Bell, huh? Along with the equally corrupt federal judicial system. That is its own sinister... I'll tell you what, I'm going to go ahead and just put all this in for you to listen to.
Subscriber's request, this phone does not accept incoming calls. Message NY24058.
Every attempt to call Don Bailey and numbers on the internet seem to be no good anymore.
You have reached a number that has been disconnected or is no longer in service. If you feel you have reached this recording in error, please hang up and try your call again.
Man, this is weird. All these guys have disconnected phones, whether it's the guy who lost his law license in Pennsylvania that worked closely with Andy, or this guy who wrote this article right here, which I think I will also post. It's so weird. I mean, these are brand new posts with brand new links, and then they go nowhere. This goes to this page and his name is not on it. I've already checked. And then I found this in Yelpers with a phone number and an address. And I tried calling the phone number just now. Let me try one more time. 1-847-600-3421. And you know, I mean, just like any business, these people depend.
Or is no longer in service. If you feel you have reached this recording in error.
So weird. I mean, they depend on this for their business, right? Law office of Kenneth Titowski closed. Lawyers, da da da. But then it clearly showed his name and phone number on there from why are all these lawyers being shut down? There's some interesting little posts in here, but I don't have time. I have to get this up. So I will add this article by Ken Titowski, made on the 26th, in because I think it's good information.
Daily. Civil Rights. X. Attorney Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. YX attorney. In the introductory sentence above, the answer is widely known and quite simple. Daly's license to practice law has been suspended for 5 years. There is no utility served unless we address the reasons for what happened in some detail. That will be done as this webpage is revised and updated. Since there's a great deal to do in accomplishing that task, we must visit the numerous facts and opinions explaining why Mr. Bailey's license was suspended by the egregiously corrupt Supreme Court we've had here in Pennsylvania over the last decade or so, along with the equally corrupt federal judicial system that in its own sinister fashion not only feeds their state companions but shares the through with them. We're going to take a close look at them. We're going to look at what they say and said and how they say it. But more importantly, we're going to look at what they say and what they have said, do, and what they have done. We have to work with some care because not all judges are dishonest, though none have demonstrated the guts to speak up against what they know is wrong, let alone take action against or criticize their crooked colleagues. We also need to be fair because there have been some new judges elected to the state Supreme Court and they should not be lumped in with the bad eggs that still sit there. Anyway, there are disparate reasons that explain failures to update this site which are in no way connected with the actions of the judicial oligarchy that mocks both the intent and the purpose of our beloved democracy. Bailey has been extremely ill and is just now getting back on his feet. He intends to devote considerable time to fighting back as he regains his health. So Bailey does not practice law in Harrisburg, PA, at least as a licensed Pennsylvania attorney. Not at this time. But we shall see. We shall see. As the old saying goes, there are many ways to skin a cat. In political endeavors there is not just a romance to rebellion, there is sometimes a duty to revolt. But we shall see. Regardless, Bailey is still well known for taking on the high-profile and controversial cases all attorneys fear. These were cases where officials like abusive judges and prosecutors were impugned by the facts and by our laws. Always adamantly defended, as he will in the future, the United States Constitution and the rights that it was intended to provide. Bailey is a former U.S. Congressman and Pennsylvania Auditor General. He's most proud of being a highly decorated Vietnam War veteran and a family man. Federal Civil Rights Acts 3D 1983 and Bivens Actions 14:1 A History of 1983. The statutory text in its present form, 42 U.S.C. 1983 reads, every person who, under color of any statute, ordinance, regulation, custom, or usage, of any state or territory or the District of Columbia, subjects, or causes to be subjected any citizen of the United States or other person within the jurisdiction thereof to the deprivation of any rights, privileges, or immunities secured by the Constitution and laws, shall be liable to the party injured in an action at law, suit, in equity, or other proper proceeding for redress. For the purposes of this section, any act of Congress applicable exclusively to the District of Columbia shall be considered to be a statute of the District of Columbia. Ken Ditkoski, www.ditkoskilaw.office.com on Tuesday, September 26, 2017, 10 hours 25 minutes and 51 seconds AM CDT. Kenneth Ditkoski less than Ken Ditkoski at yahoo.com greater than wrote, "It is now almost noon in PA. Handy is still in the gulag. So far all proceedings are secret and there is a conspiracy of silence. This gulag is a window, providing each of us with the opportunity of experiencing element number 1 of elder cleansing. The seizing of attorney Andy Ostrowski from his home, spiriting him off to wherever and maintaining a facade of acting in his best interests is exactly what happened in the Cook County guardianship case of Mary Sykes 09 page 4585 and dozens of similar cases in Illinois, Florida, California ************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************art of gulag/abduction could not occur without corrupt judges acting in concert with corrupt opportunists who have little, if any, respect for the American core values, its Constitution, or the rule of law. We have all seen evidence of the corruption in the courts and the impotency of law enforcement and government in general to address it. Part of the problem is the fact that there is great pecuniary benefits to be obtained by the corruption and the miscreants have no moral compass. Distortion, extortion, intimidation, and perjury are the weapons of these miscreants and they have the clout to carry off their felonies and punish all who oppose them. If you open your eyes, examples are available in many incidents of daily life. Of course it is not politically correct to challenge the pernicious behavior. The long and short is the clout of the miscreants is so great that perfidy is fast growing to a state beyond remediation. The headlines on yesterday's news highlighted an issue of whether a pregnant policewoman layoff violated the Americans with Disabilities had the policewoman been kidnapped and placed in a gulag facility, the ACLU, and all the organizations that were traumatized by whether or not pregnancy leave should be X days or Y days would have demonstrated not a scintilla of interest. Indeed, Andy's right to protest the favoritism being afforded a clout-heavy child trafficker, who happens to be a corrupt judge, takes a back seat to whether or not the president has the free speech to comment on the free speech exercise of disrespect for the flag of the United States of America by millionaires who are paid to play child games many times what we pay the President of the United States. The media is silent as to the gulag, but the president's free speech objection to disrespect is a hue and cry that is misrepresented into advocacy for racial hatred, etc. The same media ignores actual criminal activity by public officials and elder cleansing. Of course, hypocrisy is indicative of any society, and the thinking of most individuals. However, so is self-protection. It could be MB, not Andy, who was kidnapped by police from my home and how is being held against his will in some secret place. Indeed, it could be me who is being federal opioids or similar stuff to silence me. ID also could be used. This Andy Ostrowski case may be a line in the sand. Unless Andy received prior to incarceration a full and complete hearing with adequate notice to all interested parties and was bound to not know the objects of his bounty, could not formulate a simple business plan, did not know the extent and nature of his property, and was proven by clear and convincing evidence to be a clear and present danger to himself and/or society. Anticipating that Andy might do something terrible is not sufficient. If in fact Andy had such a hearing and the appropriate quantum of proof was provided to a duly constituted court, it certainly does not appear to be the case. Had any semblance of due process or adherence to America's core values been provided, Andy, the persons responsible for such action, would be delighted to demonstrate their good deed. However, the secrecy and the deceptions suggest that very serious felonies have occurred, and pursuant to 18 U.S.C. a for demand is made of law enforcement for an immediate honest investigation, and if the law was not strictly observed, that criminal prosecutions commence immediately and remediation occur as to Andy Ostrowski, Candidate Koski.
New Hampshire, you told the crowd you, quote, take a backseat to no one when it comes to progressive values.
I take a backseat to no one when you look at my record and standing up and fighting for progressive values.
Last month in Ohio, you said you plead guilty to, quote, being kind of moderate and center. Do you change your political identity based on who you're talking to?
No, I think that, like most people that I know, I have a range of views, but they are rooted in my values and my experience.
You know, I get accused of being kind of moderate and center. I plead guilty.
Just for the record, are you a progressive or are you a moderate?
I'm a progressive.
Never before seen video of Hillary Clinton inside the Walmart empire. She is probably one of the most investigative politicians in American history. And this morning you're going to see her in a way you've never seen her before, serving on the board of Walmart. ABC News Chief Investigative Correspondent Brian Ross is here with details on this. Good morning, Brian.
Good morning, Robin. Although she makes no mention of it in her official biography, Hillary Clinton served for 6 years on the board of Walmart, a huge retailer criticized by many for its treatment of workers and its strident opposition to unions.